Welcome everyone. Good to see you again, I suppose. Can you wave to me, people that were yesterday at the Compose trivia? Nice. Majority of you. Great. So there will be some slides that will help you understand some of the questions that were yesterday, and there will be some slides that will put some doubts in the Canvas animation knowledge, probably. I hope it will be not too complex. I tried to do it by little steps and show you what we can achieve in the Canvas creation and then in animation to bring those things to life. So, my name is Piotr Prus, and this is bringing your Canvas creation to life with Jetpack Compose. So I'm working at Tilt, which is an e-commerce platform for Gen Z. It's very fresh, full of animations and custom UIs, everything done in Compose and Swift UI and all the new stuff. And we are right now thinking about minimum SDK 32 or something like that. So we are really using only the new tools. So we'll start this presentation by mimic the same style of text that is used in Keynote. So as you can see here, this one should animate nicely from magenta to cyan, and the cyan is going from left to right. And I will show you how to build that as a warm-up. So first that we need to know is the composing strategy in graphics layer. That is the first thing that we need to add to our little text. It's the simple text, nothing fancy here yet. But now we will add this composing strategy, which is rendering of content will always be rendered into an off-screen buffer first, then draw to the destination regardless of the other parameters configured on the graphics layer. This is useful for leveraging different blending algorithms for masking content. What that means is that before onDraw is called, we are taking what we have and we are using that as a mask. So let's use a rectangular as a mask. We'll call now the draw with cache. We have few drawing modifier nodes that we can choose from. We have draw with cache, we have draw behind, and we have draw content. So we will use draw with cache because, as name suggests, this brush that is created here will be cached, so whatever changes later on, this brush is reused and not recreated all over again. So as you can see, the brush has just two colors, cyan and magenta, and it starts from top left corner and ends when where we have the size width and size height maximum, which is lower right corner. So then we'll add the onDraw with content, we'll draw our content, and on top of that we'll draw our rectangular using this brush. And the preview looks like this. Where is our text? It should be there, right? But we didn't add any blend mode, so the rectangular was just on top. Now we'll add the blend mode source a top right here. And the effect is this. So we just mimic the style of text that is used in the Keynote. And actually, in the Android system, we have quite a lot of blend modes. Some of them you should already know from yesterday, for example, like clear or XOR. They're all here, except minus. So there are 28, if I remember correctly, and you can know them from all the graphic tools that we are using, like Photoshop or maybe Lightroom or GIMP or whatever. Like everywhere we need to use a mask or layers, we are using some blend modes, and Android is not different here. So the one that we are using is source a top, which means that discards the source pixel that do not cover destination pixels. But we want to add some life to our creations, so let's talk about some animation. We'll use some simple animation here. I choose the infinite transition and this mysterious midpoint. So this midpoint is actually just a float from 0 to 1f that will go infinitely in the repeat mode reverse. And then we have like 3 seconds to transition from left to right. So very smooth transition from left to right. And since the colors are just float numbers, what our animation is doing, we are just modifying our brush. So now we are using color stops, and here in that point, we'll have magenta at point 0, then we have this floating point of cyan, and then magenta again. So the result is like this. We have magenta, but in between, we have this floating cyan that is calculating from one point to another, creating this nice lighting up or highlighting animation. But we can go a little bit further with animating the color as well. So to animate color, we can use infinite transition animate color with initial value of cyan, and then let's target yellow. And then the other color that we will change is magenta, and we'll change that one to red. We need to update our brush. So now we'll animate from color animate to another color animate. So everything changes in time. And the result is as follows. I don't know where you would use it, but let's talk about production example. So my designer thought that gradients are just meh, and he said that we need to add the color mesh, which is like totally different thing. So gradient are not enough. So this is the color mesh that I supposed to animate on that text. You do not see that, but because of the background. But this color mesh actually has some alpha layers, so it is semi-transparent. But hopefully, using the blend modes and some trick in Canvas, we can do it in Android. So we'll start with this gradient text test. We'll have the infinite transition again, and we will have the rotation value. So rotation value will be from 0 to 360, so the full circle. We'll rotate it with the restart mode, but we can use the reverse as well. This just work probably, well, not the same, but yeah, it will work as well. With the linear easing for 4 seconds, and then we'll need this bitmap of the mesh that I just showed you. And then what we are doing here, we are drawing the content, putting the change of the rotate in the the transform rotate, and we are drawing the image with the blend mode. So if we are using blend mode source, we'll get something like this. So we are just rotating this mesh without any blend mode. So what we are missing here, first of all, is our graphic layer off screen. So actually our mesh will be drawn into the off-screen buffer and then added to the composable. So now with the off-screen composition, we'll have something like this. But the most important here is again our blend mode, and we will use exactly the same, which is blend mode source atop. That will create this animation. So we have almost the same as gradient, but now we are using mesh, which is a bitmap, to create this effect. But let's talk more about blend mode. And my favorite blend mode, which is the dist in. And if you remember from yesterday, the dist in shows the destination image, but only where the tube images overlap and the source image is not rendered, it is treated merely as a mask. And what is the most important thing here is that the color channels are ignored and only the alpha opacity has an effect. So here are some examples from production but dev environment of the dist in. As you can see, for example, I do not think it's visible enough, the left corner. There is a list of elements and a nice fade out vertically. And then here on this lower left corner, we have the dist in mask on this marquee effect of the text. So you can see it fades out on the beginning and end. And the same effect is added to this store highlight thing, where we have a list of products that are traveling infinitely and also have the dist in mask. But to give you a quick example how to use that, we'll use this example with the lorem ipsum thing. So this is just a wall of text, lorem blah blah blah. We are using graphic layer again with the off-screen. We are using draw with cache to remember the brush. And the brush using a color and then a transparent. So 40% of the height will be fully visible, and then from 40% to 95% it will dim, and the last 5% will be not visible at all. So we have this nice staged fade out. So here we need to draw with content again, draw our content, draw rect, and use the blend mode dist in. Otherwise, again, okay. So now let's animate that. So to animate that, I put two new variables here in the composable. One is h float, which will be the percentage of our height of the blend, and then alpha, which is obviously just opacity of one of our colors. And then I will modify the brush. So now it will start with black, but then we will have h float to color black and copy the alpha. So alpha will change along the way of the height. And then we'll end with transparent to nice dist in effect. We'll change that to color black alpha to animate even further and show the full text at the end. So now let's call this launched effect and animate first the h float to 100%. Using linear easing with 5 seconds and then 3 seconds animate the alpha. And the effect is like this. So the text going down, and then we are highlighting the full text, changing the alpha again. So we are rendering the h float, it's going down to 100%, and then we are changing the alpha to 1. So there is no opacity, so the mask actually does not have any effect. But let's do some animation of taking the text out of our composable. So we'll add now the alpha that animates back to 0, and then h float back to 0. So the full animation will look like this. Going down, highlighting the text, and going back up a little bit faster. Another production example, I call it Dance with Blends, because we'll have some moving elements and quite a lot of blend modes. So the final thing will look like this. So there is an icon of hammer, and in the background you have a circle that is mimic the lens with the 2 color circles that are dancing around. But there are some blend modes added to mimic the lens thing. We are starting with this, so just 2 colors dancing around without any additional effects. But to do something like this, we need a little bit of scary math. So I don't know how about you, but I do not remember almost anything from math from high school. Is there anyone here that could tell me what is the equation of circle, maybe? No, there's something. Yeah, so this is x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2. It's equal to r to the power of 2. And then we have the coordinates of the points that we'll need to use. And I create this very simple function to calculate bubble offset, which means where the bubble will animate from one point in the circle to another point. So just to easier navigate through this animation. And then the full animation uses the keyframes. So then in every step of those 7 seconds animation, I can choose the different angle, different radius, the size, and the time where the circle should be. We could use some random functions here, but I found it pretty difficult to make it decent looking. So I just create all of those keyframes to make it smooth and very controlled. The same thing goes to the small circle. So we animate just with different size and the different radiuses, but they will be just dancing around. The big circle is changing color over time. And here I'm using the pink color, and then it changes to night, which is like dark blue, and then to orange. So taking that and animate, you see that the big circle is changing the colors. It's going around a bit randomly, and then the small circle follows up as well. But the creme de la creme is the layers. So we have quite a lot of layers here, box in the box, in the box, in the box. But what is important is that the first box that is over the circles is using the blur. Important thing here is that blur modifier can be applied on every composable, but have effect only on Android 12 plus devices. And what is weird, you do not have any error here, it will just take no effect. So if you would like to add the blur, think about it. We can also use Canvas for that, and with Canvas blur we could use from API 21, but it's a little bit more complex, and I will show you that in the next slides. So adding the blur will have this nicer effect. So the animation stays the same, but now our circles are blurred. But going further with layers, down to the circles, on top of everything, we'll add the new box with padding of 5 dp, circle shape that will just have the black color with alpha 60%. And this is the most important layer in this animation. I hope you see the difference that in the center of this, we have darker colors, and at the edge, we have this 5 dp that do not have this layer of 60% dark. And that will be very important with adding our next blend modes. So on top layer, we'll add now the new blend mode for color dodge. And what color dodge means is a blend mode that drastically lightens the color in the base layer. It's particularly effective for creating a bright, almost eternal effect. So if we'll add that, we'll have more lighted colors in this animation. But now we will combine that with another blend mode. As you can see here, I'm drawing another circle in the canvas with the color burn. And color burn is blend mode that drastically darkens the color in the base layer. It's particularly effective for creating a deep, rich, and moody atmosphere. So if we compare those two blend modes, on the paper it doesn't make sense, because one is to create more light scene and the other one more dark scene. But since we added this circle of 60% black, the effect will be like this. So let me explain that to you. Everything that is around with this 5dp padding has more light color, and everything that is in dark creates more moody effect. So there it is, our burn effect that gives us more less saturated and more darkened colors inside, and then outside we have more lighted colors. And put that everything together step by step to visualize it better. We added blur at first, then we are adding this alpha layer so we can see already some nice lens effect. Then we have the color dodge. You can see that the color at this edge is more bright, and then we are adding color blur to create more dramatic scenario. So a little bonus for web developers. Anyone is doing web? Not this conference. So I was showing this presentation a few weeks ago on the local GDG, and there was one web developer there that asked me to share the slides because he would like to create the same thing in CSS. And he succeeded. As you can see, this is almost the same animation created for web. And if you would like to see the code, that was created by Henry Lim, GDE for web. This is the code. So another example from the production is the boost. We are using the boost everywhere in the app. This is our way to give people some extras. We have the boost for like £5 coupon or minus 5% of your purchase, or maybe free shipping or something like that. And people can win those boosts on some games. So when you're activating the boost, we are showing this card that is active boost. And as you can see, there is this bubble 3D thing and animated color around. So I will try to explain you step by step how this bubble thing was produced. So first we have just the circle, and we are drawing it with the color and blend mode screen because we want to blend this thing with the screen that is underneath. And then for the emoji, we are using just text with emoji of sparkle. And then we are going to use native paint layer. And this is something that I briefly mentioned before, which is the way to use the blur from API, I think even 5, but nowadays everyone is using like 21 plus. So this is the way how you can use blur in your animations or custom composables and not carry about this modifier.blur that works only on Android 12 plus. So as you can see here, we need to call paint as framework paint, and then we can apply the mask filter, which is blur mask filter. And then we have some color, we have the paint style stroke, overlay, and alpha, and stuff like that. Then to draw this, we can't draw it on the normal canvas, but we need to use the native canvas. So we are drawing into canvas, and then we are calling native canvas, draw circle, and applying this layer. So now, I hope you see, now you will not see that. Everywhere around the circle, we have small blur that gives us a little bit of 3D effect. On phone, you would see that, but I see that with this lightning, it's not visible, but it's there. Another layer that I will add here is those small light effects on the top. So here we are using the framework paint again with the blur and the color dodge. And now I will transform the colors from transparent to white to transparent and white again using sweep gradient shader. So what this does, we are starting from here, which is our 0.0 in the circle. We are going to 55%, so it's still transparent. So every color in those steps, and then every color stops match. So we are starting from color transparent, going to 55% of color transparent, and then we are changing to white. So at 60% we'll have the white, at 70% we are still in white color, and then we are again going into transparent. 80% is white again, 84 white, 87 is transparent. And what that gives us is those small blurred circles that gives us this bubble 3D effect. I hope you see it. Cool. So the last paint layer here will be this rainbow color that rotates. So here I'm using the blur again to have a possibility to use that not only on Android 12 Plus, with the paint style stroke, with the blend mode screen, and I'm going just through all of the colors that we have in this rainbow palette to create this sweep gradient with blur. After that, we will use just the transform rotate from 360 degrees and rotate animation, which is going from 0 to 1, slowly in 2 seconds or something like that. So it animates slowly, nicely. Last one that I wanted to show you is our tap competition. So this is our little game in the app where people can win the boosts. Do you know the joke how to draw an owl? All right. So I will not go into details how we built all of this because we will need like 2-3 hours to explain every little detail and step, and you'll be probably snoring. So I will show you the full effect and then just focus on one detail that is very interesting to mention in my opinion. So what we have here is live streaming, but this is like my desk, and as you can see, the boost is traveling around the screen. You can tap on it. We have full particles around, and inside there are some glows that are growing with this morph effect. Everything is done in Canvas. Everything is done on native Canvas, so you could actually use it probably from API, I don't know, 10.5 or something. But it's also used in Compose, so 21 plus. Then you can activate your blur, activate your flare, and you have the particles again. You can change your colors, and you can see then there was this animate of your username that I showed before with the not gradient, gradient mask. So that's the full effect, but as I said, there are a lot of details here, and I probably never will do the talk about it, but maybe at some point I will create some articles, multiple articles of how it's done. But the most important thing, the foundation of all of this, is the Canvas particle emitter that I built, and the library is ready. It's almost published. I will share more with you just a second. So this Canvas emitter, what it does is like emitting a lot of particles, which is just pixels done in native Canvas. And as you can see, you can config quite a lot of things, like how many particles per second you want to send, where is your center, what is your shape of the starting point, is it circle, is it line, is it other shape. You can have different particle shapes, you can have the fade out time, scale time, colors, like everything is configurable. And this is the effect of this growing glow that you saw when we were tapping the boost. Something was growing inside, and this is this blend blurred inside. This is how I configured to use that. So you can see that the particle shape is image. We have the overall image there that I will share in a second. We have those 3 different colors, blue, magenta, and cyan, that are randomly picked for every particle to create this nice fairy effect. But how to make this blur thing efficiently to do not skip the frames in the animation? That was the most important thing in this animation, and I think it's most important thing to know a trick how to blur the images that are still, sorry, I missed the word, optimum for your application, so it won't be heavy to calculate. So first we could try with blur modifier. So just taking a box of some small size with circular shape and then put the blur. But there are some drawbacks. As we know, we cannot use that on API, that on Android lower than 12. And the second thing is that if we'll put like 100 of those, there will be so many calculations of the blur that needs to calculate each position of the particle and blur things that are behind it, that will just kill our app. So that's a no. We could use the blur mask with the native canvas. So using the native paint layer again with this blur mask, and this is significantly better effect. So with the blur modifier, I tried, I could reach like 20 to 30 particles maybe, and there was okay. And with the blur mask, I went to like few hundreds. So it was working better on the canvas, but it was still not good enough. Because as you saw on this tab competition, we are using quite a lot of things. So there are blurs, there are thousands of particles, and the animation was just glitching. So that's a no as well. So do you remember old days when we didn't have quite a lot of space to store the data and how we were transforming images back and forth and we were losing some quality? So this is the image of the Costa de Caparica beach that is very close here. And this is 2 megabyte pixel, 2 megabyte picture. But if you lower it down to 60 kilobytes, you can see it's blurring a little bit. But if you go further to this little thing, it's just 2 kilobytes and it's very nice blur. Maybe it's a little bit too much, but you get the idea. So what I did here to optimize the blur, I uses this little circle, which is just a PNG of 78 pixels, and it's just 2 kilobytes. So I will increase the size for you to understand what we have here. We have this circle that has like blur already. So it has the alpha layer, but it's 2 kilobyte PNG. And with caching in Android, this will be very efficient to use for our blur effect. And with the tint effect, we can color it to whatever color we want. So having this small circle, what I'm doing here with this my particle emitter, I'm just adding circle close to another with some random function of distance of 2 dp, 5 dp, and so on. Randomize the tint color, and using that technique, I could literally put 10,000 particles, and there was no glitch in the UI. So the circle is increasing. Maybe I put a little bit too much, a few more clicks. All right. So I would say it's magic. We have thousands of particles that do not glitch our UI, and we can use it for every step of the animation. So here, inside this circle, you can see those little blurs that are going up and down to mimic the bubble effect. It's glitching because of the MOV format, not MP4. But it's not glitching on the up. And then the second one, you can see that I'm using this particle emitter to send a lot of particles every time user clicks on the bubble. And then the last one is this morphing effect of this colorful glows around the circle. And the last one, when you change your color of your username and shape, you can see the particles, starry particles there as well. So as I said, the library is coming soon. I have everything prepared, it's just not published yet. I promise I will publish it this month. So this is the link to my Twitter. I will inform there when the library is live. Maybe it will be even tomorrow. I will see how many time I will have in the airport, but it's really almost there. So that was everything for bringing your Canvas creation to life with Jetpack Compose. And a little reminder at the end, there is a schedule update, and at the very end today, at 5 p.m., we'll have the trivia showdown, totally different than yesterday, more funny. I will be hosting it with Ben. You know Ben from yesterday, early morning, so you know he's funny. And we'll have this trivia showdown, and there will be some awesome prizes from DroidCon and GDG as well, and some more silly prizes as well. So that would be it. Thank you.